Chapter 5. Have you heard from Darius? What has the army told you? Is Darius a traitor? Reporters with microphones and cameras swarmed our car, yelling questions through the window. Are you Muslims? Is Darius a Muslim? Have you seen the footage yet? Is it Darius? Mom honked and gunned the engine, and the reporters jumped out of the way as she sped into the driveway. Go straight inside, Mom told me. Don't say anything to them. Don't even look at them. Butterflies filled my chest and my pulse quickened. Mom pulled the keys out of the ignition, and I leaped out of the car and ran for the front door. Cameron, wait! Someone yelled. Tell us about your brother. I kept my head down and kept running. Stay off our property, Mom yelled at the reporters. She hurried inside after me, slamming the door. Dad had the TV on CNN, watching the news coverage. He stood when we came in, going immediately to Mom to give her a hug. I went right to the TV. Headlines scrolled across the bottom of the screen, but they were on a commercial break. I never watched CNN. I didn't even know what channel it was on. The only news I ever watched was sports news on ESPN. What are they saying? I asked. What's going on? Nothing new, Dad said. It might be Darius. It might just be someone wearing his uniform. Dad and I shared a glance. The only way someone else could be wearing Darius's uniform was if they had taken it off him, which meant Darius was captured or dead. So either Darius was now a terrorist, or he was captured or dead. I didn't know which was worse. Welcome back, said CNN's Wolf Blitzer. He stood in front of a bank of huge televisions, all showing different videos of gunfire and explosions around a sandstone white building flying the U.S. flag. We return now to the attack on the United States Embassy in Turkey, where 53 people are known to be dead, including 22 civilians. And most disturbing of all, leading the attack appears to be U.S. Army Ranger Captain Darius Smith. Or perhaps not. With me now is the former director of the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center, Trip Conrad. Mr. Conrad, CNN put a picture of Darius up on the screen, a posed photograph of him in his uniform looking as handsome and serious as ever. Then they split the screen and showed a still from a video taken in the embassy. In the background, a guy stood waving his finger in the air. He was the same height as Darius, but I couldn't make out his face. It was surreal, listening to Wolf Blitzer talk about my brother, saying where he grew up, what his grades were like at West Point, going over his acceptance into the Army Rangers, his assignments in the Middle East. It was as weird as if Emily Reed, my favorite correspondent on ESPN, and not just because she happened to be so pretty, had been talking about my performance in the homecoming game on SportsCenter. The house phone rang. I reached for it, but Dad waved me away and answered it himself. Hello? No, we have no comment at this time. Please don't call again. He clicked off the phone and tossed it on the couch. They won't stop calling, but I have to keep answering in case it's the Army. Mr. Conrad, I'm going to have to stop you there, Wolf Blitzer said on TV. I'm told we have a startling new video just released by Al-Qaeda that definitely includes U.S. Army Captain Darius Smith. Let's bring you that video now. Mom and Dad and I huddled around the television set as Darius appeared, seated behind a desk in front of a black curtain. A wave of shock hit me. It was Darius, my brother. But just like that first day at West Point when he'd appeared transformed, now he was transformed all over again. Darius was still wearing his army fatigues, but he'd grown a scraggly little beard and wore a white headscarf around his curly hair. Mom let out a gasp, and Dad put his arm around her. I felt the room start to spin all over again. My name is Darius Smith, Darius told the camera, and I take full responsibility for today's Al-Qaeda attack on the U.S. Embassy in Turkey. My mother sobbed once, and my father closed his eyes. I shook my head, silently pleading with Darius not to say this, not to do this, but he kept going. I was once asked to commit atrocities against the Muslim people by the United States government, Darius said, reading from a piece of paper. I now choose to lead those same innocent victims in the fight against American tyranny. Today's strike on the U.S. Embassy is merely the first in a series of planned attacks against the United States to punish the infidels for their crimes against Islam. Once, when we were little, Darius and I were watching a movie about aliens and I was scared. I covered my eyes and told Darius to tell me when the things were off the screen. I waited, terrified that if I peeked through my fingers, I'd see one and have nightmares for weeks. Finally, Darius told me it was all right to look. The aliens were still there. I'd screamed, and Darius had laughed and laughed. He'd done it on purpose, just to mess with me. I was so mad I grabbed one of the sofa cushions to beat him over the head, but then I got so scared I hid behind it instead. I felt like that now. I couldn't decide whether I was more frightened or mad. I started trembling. "No, no!" I yelled at the Darius on TV. The tie I'd worn to the dance felt like it was suffocating me, and I tore it off and threw it to the floor. Darius kept talking about infidels, jihad, martyrs, Al-Qaeda, but I wasn't listening anymore. All I could hear was the sound of my own blood thumping in my ears, my breath coming short and fast, my mother crying quietly beside me. Whatever else Darius had to say didn't matter anyway. All that mattered now was that our lives were never, ever going to be the same.